Hi there, welcome back to our channel 5 Interesting Points. Today we'll be talking something about education in ancient India. See, nowadays we have students in India, after completing their schooling for their higher education, they want to go outside India. But at one point of time in ancient India, students from outside wanted to come to India for their higher studies. This was during the ancient times. That's what we're going to be seeing today. First point, in ancient India, education was free. There was no fees or anything. Education was for men and women. And when there's education system, the king or the state or the government could not interfere in the administration or the curriculum development of the school. The school would decide its curriculum and how it was going to function. And in ancient India, there was Hinduism and Buddhism. So the students were taught about Hinduism, about the Hindu scriptures and also the Buddhist scriptures. When they were taught about the Hindu scriptures, it would be in Sanskrit, and when they were taught about the Buddhist scriptures, it would be in Sanskrit and in Pali. Now, other than this, students were taught a lot in the fields of medicine, astrology, physics, math, and a lot more. That's the reason why students from as far as Egypt and Greece wanted to come to India for their higher education. That is the first point. The second point is, when we say ancient India, how ancient or how old? So to give you an idea about the timeline, Jesus Christ, we all know Jesus Christ, right? He was born in the year 4 BCE, the year 4 before Common Era. And some of the universities that we had in ancient India were from 500 BCE to 1300 AD, which means about 400 years before Jesus Christ was born, there were well-established and functioning universities in India, in ancient India. And some of the university names were Takshashila, Vikramashila, Nalanda, Somapura, Vallabhi, and so on. These are all famous universities which were existing, which were established and functioning about 400 years before Jesus Christ was born. And I'm saying this here just to give you an idea about the timeline. That's the second point. The third point, the oldest or first university was Taxila University, Taxila or Takshashila. We will see some of the alumni from this university, famous alumni, famous and successive. And when I say famous and successive, I mean that they have contributed a lot in various fields. The first alumni is going to be Chanakya. He doesn't really need an introduction, but still. Chanakya was a teacher, a strategist, economist. He was the author of Arthasastra. He was the brain behind dethroning Nanda and putting Chandragupta Maurya on the throne. We all know Chanakya. He was an alumni of Takshila University. And then another alumni was Panini, who was a grammarian. See, now if you go and Google and see who is the father of phonetics, it's going to show you that it was Daniel Jones, a person by name Daniel Jones. He lived somewhere around the late 1800s. Now, about 2000 years before Daniel Jones, Panini had actually come up with phonetics for the Sanskrit language. About 2000 years before Daniel Jones. So Panini is the actual or original father of phonetics. Then there's another alumni by name Jivaka, who was a doctor, a surgeon. Jivaka, the surgeon, was the first one to use an instrument called trephine, a medical instrument called trephine. And if you're in the ophthalmology field, you'll be very familiar with it because that is the instrument which you use for corneal transplant. Basically, it's an instrument with a circular blade. It can be used to cut off circular portions of the tissue or the bone. It's a trephine, and it was first used by the surgeon Jivaka in one of his surgeries. And the last, we'll see one more alumni by name Charaka, who's given a lot to the field of Ayurveda medicine. He's contributed a lot to Ayurveda. See, Ayurveda is not used only in India actually, it's used a lot around the world. And this person or doctor by name Charaka has contributed a lot toward Ayurveda, and he's also one of the alumni of the Takshashila University. That is a third point. Coming to the fourth point, we will see about Nalanda University. Now see, Takshashila was the first university that was formed. It had a few flaws maybe because the first time things cannot be perfect, right? So in the second university, Nalanda, all the flaws were fixed, and Nalanda was very beautifully organized and structured. Even the physical structure of Nalanda University, it had 9 stories. That was the first university to have 9 stories, and it had dorms, the first university to have dorms where students could stay in the campus and study. And Nalanda University, getting admission there was not easy. I have read that there are different rounds of interviews. The first round starts with the gatekeeper interviewing the prospective student. Even the gatekeepers were very much educated. That's what this means. And in Nalanda University, the pride of Nalanda University was their library. It was again a 9-story building, and I've read it had 90 lakh books. Yes, I believe it had 90 lakh books. You have to note here that in that period there was no publication, there was no copying machine, and there was no printing machine. So each of these books were unique, where they were all handwritten. There was only one copy of one book. So 90 lakh different books which were all handwritten. Then imagine the amount of research, amount of hard work, sleepless nights, and so much effort being put in by so many people. So no matter, the library was a pride of Nalanda University. And Nalanda University came to an end, I think, around the 12th century AD. It was not closed or shut down because it didn't have enough funds. It was actually burnt down. And I would let you guys read, do your research and read how Nalanda University came to an end. But 700 years after that, Narendra Modi has actually rebuilt the Nalanda University, and it is a functioning university now. Okay, that is a fourth point. Coming to the last point, this was interesting. See, when we all read math in our early grades, in geometry, we read about many theorems, right? One of it is Pythagoras theorem, given by the Greek philosopher Pythagoras. We'll keep that aside. Now, in ancient India, we know that we have a lot of rituals in Hinduism, right? A lot of rituals, and we have a homam, yagam in almost all rituals, all of the rituals. Nowadays, present day, when we see the yagam, the altar that is built for that is mostly a square built with bricks and mud. But in ancient India, the altars were of different shapes. It could be a square, to adjacent squares, to intersecting squares. It can be in the shape of a bird or an animal, the outline. Because each deity, for each deity, when you do a yagam, it has to be, the altar has to be in a particular shape. So there were a lot of shapes of altars which was done in ancient India. Okay, so which means they would have done a lot of study into math, especially geometry. And there are studies which show that Pythagoras had actually visited India, and he had learnt from the Buddhists and the Hindu priests here. Now, I'm not trying to put down Pythagoras. What I'm trying to say is that Pythagoras came, and he of course shared knowledge with the teachers here in Nalanda also. But what I'm trying to say is what Pythagoras has given in his theorem has been done by the ancient Indians years and years and years before Pythagoras. So in India, they were the ones who first came up with the theorem, many other theorems. Pythagoras theorem is just one of that. All of these theorems, all of this math that studies that ancient India did is all in a scripture called Sulabha Sutras. Do your research on that to find out. These are the 5 points that I was wanting to share about education in ancient India. I hope you enjoyed the video. Before I say bye, I want to say again, please go see how Nalanda University came to an end. Please do see that. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you again in another session. Take care. Bye.